प्रभु की आजारी। ॐ सहनौ भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We studied the principle of growth, which is that, excuse me, thought removes thought, but not any thought. The thought which is a higher thought. Now, how do you inculcate higher thoughts? We studied that as well. We can inculcate them by three processes. Three processes because we have three equipments. The first process is known as Karma Yoga. In Karma Yoga, what happens is you use your body to be able to, what should I say, to be able to inculcate that. That means all the actions we do are the actions for service. You're always serving when we do these things. So that's the first way. The way to learn to do it is by doing volunteer work, by doing, karma yoga, volunteer work or social work, things like that. So that's how we learn to do it. We learn to do it through volunteer work. But just through social work. But it's not really karma yoga. Karma yoga is you're able to bring that same sense of worship, that same sense of service to all actions. And when you're able to do that, you're living a life of karma yoga. Everything. It's not like okay, I do these social work actions or I do these volunteer actions, things like that. Everything. It's almost like you have negated your personality. The difference between a karma yogi and a person doing volunteer work is a karma yogi never says things like, I'm not comfortable doing it, I don't like doing it, I'm not capable of doing it. You see, what is the common thing in all these statements? Did you see what is the common thing? That's right. I. It's still about me. It's all, the karma yoga means it is no longer about me. The reason I choose to do something or the reason I choose not to do something is only from the perspective of service. How will I serve better? What can I do to help? That's the only thought that interests me. That is karma yoga. It's always about me. Always. Oh, I'm not good at this. Oh, there's something wrong. All about me. If you talk to anybody, it's like listening to an autobiography all the time. It's all about me. It is never about what can we do for others. How can we, what way do we live so that everybody's always benefited? Because these are not the questions people have. Question people have is I don't like this, I like this, it's always like that. So that conversion from what suits me to it's not about me is karma yoga. That is why you will read in other places that karma yoga is the antidote to ego. Bhakti yoga is to selfish emotions, jnana yoga is to lack of clarity, and karma yoga is the antidote to ego. Because the essence of karma yoga is you forgot about yourself. That's the essence of it. So the first way of inculcating the higher thought is by converting every action across the board. You lose the ability to be selfish. You just lose that ability. You can't do it anymore. You don't know what that means anymore. When you do that, you're living up to the ideal of karma yoga. That's how you inculcate higher thoughts with your actions. The second way to do this is through emotion. Today's emotions are also centered around me. What is it? Are you giving me pleasure or are you not giving me pleasure? All my emotions are centered around it. The more people do what we would like them to do, the more we love them. And the less they do what we would like them to do, the less we love them. A simple business sense we have in these things. If you do what I like, you're my best friend. And if you don't do what I like, you're my worst enemy. Same person. And you know how children are, right? They're very small and they're very cute and they don't have any form of hypocrisy. Every day their best friend will change. Have you noticed that, Anna? So who's your best friend? My best friend is Rosie. Next day meet the child, who's your best friend? My best friend is Sapni. Very different. So what happened to Rosie? I don't like her anymore. She's not my friend anymore. And we are like that as grown-ups too. We do what I like. It warms the cockles of my heart. You do what I don't like, leash, throw you out of the window. So Bhakti Yoga is inculcating universal affection. The whole point of universal affection is that it no longer matters what the other person does. You love the person because you love the person. You love the person because you are a loving person. It has got nothing to do with either their behavior or their characteristics or any such thing. You love them because they are the creation of the Lord. You love them because they are your own self. Nothing to do with any particular thing about them. That is Bhakti Yoga. You inculcate the higher with your emotions. No matter how faulty the creation. I'm not sure why you're saying no matter how faulty the creation, but okay.
It's difficult to love evil people, right?
Okay, like that. Yes. We don't start with evil, we start with the people we do claim to love. So at least we maintain the same emotion towards them, even when you don't, they're irritating you so much, you still maintain the same emotion. So like, how? My parents are irritating me. It's so cute. And, in some ways, it's very cute to teach the kids. So nowadays, I'm taking these classes in the college. And I said, okay, you can ask me any question. So she said, yeah, that's something about her mother irritating her. So how do you love people when they're irritating you? And parents can be very irritating. Sometimes when you hear them also, you feel irritated. Now, why don't they leave these kids alone? It's quite irritating. How do you love? How do you love your loved ones when they behave badly? So never mind about bad fellows and evil people. But your own loved ones, how do you love them when they are not behaving well? Your spouse, your parents, your grandparents, whoever is irritating you, your in-laws, your mother-in-law. How do you love them? That's what Bhakti Yoga teaches you. Do you know how you love people? When they're irritating you, your own loved ones now. We have to start there because you'd at least love the people we do love. So, how do you love them? If you've been learning properly about Bhakti Yoga, you should be able to answer that question.
Only self.
Okay, Bhakti Yoga, they don't usually say all ourselves. In Bhakti Yoga, how do you love the people when they're irritating? Your own people, your own loved ones, how do you love them when they're irritating you? You all have not been listening because this has already been answered. I'm only summarizing what happened last time.
Because just by thinking that they are all the creation of
Okay, that sometimes is quite difficult thinking of you a creation of the Lord. I don't think so. I feel like saying that.
or by knowing that they are bound by their vasanas.
Yeah. That doesn't make us love them. You have to actually try. How? If they're irritating you now, how will you do it? They love me when I'm irritating them. Okay, nice. In one word, can you tell me how do I love people? How do I love my loved ones when they're irritating me?
Gratitude.
Very good. Excellent. See, that's the quality of yoga, no? Gratitude. So they love me when I'm irritating them is an expression of gratitude. That I don't always behave perfectly. And if it's my parents, God alone knows how much I have irritated them in my lifetime. But they continue to love me, so why would I not? So gratitude. That is where the second element of bhakti comes in. Gratitude. And then your mind has so many worries and fears and anxieties and all of that. Right? This is how the mind pulls you down. So bhakti yoga is supposed to pick you up, right? So if you're full of all these insecurities and fear, and greed, all this stuff, and worries and anxieties, and ये होगा, नहीं होगा, पता नहीं क्या होगा, ये वो ये. How does bhakti yoga help you lift your mind from that?
Surrender.
Surrender. Thy will be done. Whatever happens will be by His will. Surrender. The quality of surrender is
Recognition of ignorance.
recognition of ignorance. I so much want this thing to happen, but I don't even know whether that thing happening will be good for me. That also I don't know. But I'm crying that something should happen or not happen. so many people have grown in this world because bad things happen to them. So why are you criticizing? Why are you frightened? Why are you worrying? That's what Bhaja Govindam says. Vatul kim tava nasti niyanta. Oh Vatul, oh distracted one. Kim tava nasti niyanta. Is there not an ordena for you? Why are you worrying? It's not your job to worry. It's God's job to worry. Let him do the worrying. This is a good time to practice Bhakti Yoga. This land acquisition is enough to drive anybody nuts. But you have to remember, it's not my worry, it's God's worry. You should hear the story of this land acquisition. It's a full drama going on. Like every day, you know how the soap opera, every day something happens, and then something else happens, and then somebody does something, and then everything goes to nothing. So much happens in the day, and at the end of the day, nothing has happened. Exactly like the drama you see on television. You know how in the drama, oh, they're about to get married and all the arrangements are done, and then they have come to the mandap, and then somebody on the mandap will say, Roko. Oh, the whole serial went in the preparation for the wedding. And then when the wedding comes, they'll say, forget it, stop. Then next day you have to get up and see again, कि आज क्या हो रहा है. So then they'll be, रोको, ये नहीं हो सकता, क्योंकि ये और ये कहानी तब हुई, वो कहानी, like half an hour will go. And then at the end of that half an hour, they'll say, नहीं, शादी होगी. No, why did you waste my time then? Then शादी होने वाली है. Then again next day, such आज तो जरूर इनकी शादी होगी. That happens again, they do something, the nakra, they go to flashback or something. अरे बाबा इनकी शादी होने तो दो. Exactly like that is land acquisition. Every day, all drama, drama, drama. At the end of the day, nothing has happened. Start all over again from morning. Now you can get terribly frustrated. You can say, "Arey Baba, ये कहानी आगे बढ़ेगी कि नहीं?" Frustrating, no? The seller wants to sell, the buyer wants to buy, the money is available for this transaction, and nothing is happening. Absolutely nothing. So you can get high blood pressure and be tension. Or you can think, not my job, God's job. If he wants it done, let him get it done. I will sleep peacefully. Bhakti Yoga is surrender. Not trying to impose your views on this universe. Whatever happens will be fine. Whatever it is. Good things come out of bad things come out of good things. We are such ignorant people that there is no point having any ask, any demands. No point. So the qualities of Bhakti Yoga is universal affection, gratitude, and surrender. When you have this, when you have these three qualities, the mind is uplifted. That's your second way of developing higher thoughts. The third way of developing higher thoughts is through the intellect. All the time, our intellect is analyzing, reasoning, judging, discriminating. What is this discrimination? What is this judgment? What is this analysis? It's all about what am I going to get? How much can I maximize my gains and minimize my profit, minimize my losses? All the analysis is that. Jnana Yoga is analyzing what's permanent and what's impermanent. My life itself is impermanent. What is the permanence I'm going to seek away? day I heard, very nice thing I heard. Oh, it was very nice. That there's this elderly lady. She is the mother of a very famous person. So I reached out to them because, the book launch is coming. So we should have somebody, a famous person coming to launch the book. So I reached out to them to say, can this person come? He's a very famous person. I'm not going to mention his name because there is nobody in this class who will not know his name. So I called up and I was generally asking about the family and all. It turns out the lady has dementia. So she can't be left alone, can't go out because of dementia. But all her life, she has been working in a certain institution. I mean, not working full time, but doing volunteer work at an institution which is for the terminally ill. So now that she has dementia, she spends her time going there. I thought that's fantastic, right? There is so little of that human being left, but whatever is left is used for service. We find so many reasons not to do things. And here is somebody who is just doing what they can. Fantastic. So, Jnana Yoga is making some kind of discrimination as to what is lasting and what is not. I am not going to last. This personality is not going to last. But while it is there, something useful can be done, which will be lasting. So this capacity to make this discrimination at all times you're thinking, what is lasting? What's not lasting? I will not associate with things that are not lasting. My husband gets irritated with me. I mean, not my husband, bichara, but if my husband gets irritated with me, is that irritation lasting? Does it make any difference in my life? Any quarrel between a husband and wife, does it ever make any difference? What happens? You're all married people, right? What happens? You have a fight with your husband or your wife. And then this fight goes, you fight, and you get very angry with each other, and you don't speak for a week. Then what happens? What happens?
You come around and you start talking, and then very soon it's all forgotten.
Absolutely. Isn't it? Life comes back to normal. Then why are you wasting time on that fight? What is the point? So much thought and analysis. This will do about that fight. That fight itself is impermanent. Why are we wasting our time on it? If it's impermanent, if it is permanent, okay? My spouse has behaved in a way because of which I will no longer live with him or her. Now this is a permanent. Then you think about it. What a stupid everyday fight. You know how husband and wife fight. Stupid everyday fight. It's not like it's making any difference to anybody. Just letting loose whatever comes to your mind. Why? Why means, please go ahead. I am not objecting to fight. Fight all you want. The point is not that. The point is, if it's impermanent, don't let it take up your mental space. Because that's expensive real estate. Don't let it take up my mental. And if you live with somebody, you're bound to disagree on something or the other. What to eat, when to eat, window open, window closed, AC on, AC off. So come to this function, no, I won't come to this function. What are all these fights about? All silly stuff, right? That will not be remembered. But today it's a big fight. So the intellect constantly discriminating. Is this a permanent thing? Or is this an impermanent thing? If it's an impermanent thing, I am not wasting my time. So, 3 ways of inculcating the higher thought is Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Now, you've heard this millions of times. When you have, Deepak Sethi, you have a question?
Yeah. Janki in the first two examples of body and emotions, Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, you made the point that you take the I away. So it's not what I like, it's not what suits me, actions, etc. In the third one, you've said lasting and non-lasting, temporary and permanent. There can still be an I angle to it, whether it's like the examples that we were giving. Is this permanent for me? Is this lasting for me? Do I invest mental space? But there is still an I element. Wouldn't there be some dimension of the Jnana Yoga which also takes that I away per se?
Absolutely. That's why it began with saying that this personality is itself not permanent. That's where we began it, right? That there's no permanence here. So you have to look for something which is permanent. What is this body? Is it permanent? What are the emotions? Are they permanent? This is all my analysis also. Every day I have different views. Some people like every day they have a different view. They don't have static views. Every day different, depending on what suits them that day. So what is really permanent in this personality? So I have to find the permanence and pursue that. My mental space has to be taken up by the permanent. This is not permanent.
And now that's the highest level of permanency, to say this is not permanent, so self-realization is the permanent goal per se. But in an operating sense, what can it be?
You don't have to think of self-realization. You have to find out anything more permanent in anybody's mental framework. They have to find out what is more permanent, what is less permanent, and go with the more permanent. Then that comparison will start again. It automatically between more permanent, less permanent. So we just have to do that. Now, so much time and effort and energy we spend on discussing our financial investments. Okay, but we don't recognize money by its nature is impermanent. There's many times, now that we are a little older in life, sometimes in our lives we've been through this thing and say, oh, now I have plenty of money. And then immediately after that comes a bunch of expenses. And again, the bank account has considerably depleted. And then again, you are being a little careful because all these expenses have come, so you're being careful. Hasn't this happened? We feel that, when I'm doing financial, and then suddenly, I'm talking about the experience of it. Suddenly, my experience is different about doing well financially. So, what is this money? And yet, how much time in a human being's life goes behind getting money? It's amazing. And you can't even guarantee that it's going to last us our lifetime. You can't. We do everything to make it last, of course. Now, when philosophy talks like this, then people go to the other side and they become negligent. It's not that you have to become negligent. That's where the difficulty of philosophy lies. We assume when we talk like this that you are taking care of your finances. If you're not taking care of your finances, then please stop taking care. But if you are taking care of your finances, then you realize that this is really an impermanent thing. I'm going to spend my time doing more permanent things. So therefore, you start figuring out a way of taking care of your finances in the most efficient manner. To deal with it in the most efficient manner. Because you don't want it to take up too much of your time and energy. Or health. How many hours people spend on their health? Hours and hours in the day, day after day. People go to the gym for like 2, 3, 4 hours. Not recognizing that, Shanabhangur. Do you understand Shanabhangur? Can go any second. And it will peter out. Nobody's going any younger, right? So it's going to peter out one day or the other. Now, if I say that, then people say, oh my God, it's okay, you don't need to look after health. No, please look after it. Yeah, better than being sick is taking care of your health. So, Jnana Yoga is seeking permanence. And when you seek permanence, you recognize that this personality itself is impermanent. That is why in the Western world, they have the concept of legacy. Because they say legacy is permanent. I'm not permanent, but legacy is.
Yeah, thank you.
And many other ways here. Many other ways of doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
ma'am, relatively, we go to the higher rung of the ladder by comparing at every stage.
yes.
level.
Suppose I'm fighting with my husband. Then I say, what's permanent? The relationship is permanent or the disagreement is permanent? The relationship is permanent. Forget the disagreement.
Right.
At every stage. So we were at Saint Augustine of Hippo, right? So once we have finished all this and we have inculcated higher thoughts, only one thought remains, the thought of the self. And that is removed by meditation. Once that is removed, what remains is the reality. What is that reality like? Saint Augustine of Hippo describes it as whose knowledge is not like ours, which has 3 tenses: past, present, and future. It's not tense. That means there can be no change, no variation. Right? He cannot learn something new because he already knows it. If he already knows everything, then everything becomes predestined. Always predestined. Because it cannot become predestined at a particular time. You get that, right? Because if it becomes predestined at a particular time, then he's learned that new thing at that time, right? So that's not possible because he always knew everything. So this will create problems. The only way out of this kind of intellectual gymnastics, okay, it's somewhere, it's the fourth last line of this paragraph of Saint Augustine. The only way out of this kind of intellectual gymnastics is to take the Vedantic theory of Maya. The whole world is Maya. That is, it does not exist as it seems to. Like a dream world, it disappears on our waking up. You don't have to explain creation if you do not accept that there is creation. Complicated, no? Silent is the understanding, and silence is the result. A person finally understands in the silence of the mind. Then it all fits beautifully. Because it all sounds mind-boggling at some stage. And you're struggling to understand. You have to relax. In the silence, we're going to understand. When you understand it, it all fits beautifully. There is nothing to be said, nothing to be surprised, or angry, or upset, or joyful.
Jankiji, could you please repeat the St. Augustine para? As you correctly said, it is a difficult concept to grasp. Okay, can you just repeat it if you don't mind?
Okay. So what is the knowledge of the Lord? His knowledge has no past, present, and future. That's what he said. If you accept what he's saying, then if they have no tenses, it can have no variation. If it has no variation, then he cannot learn something new, right? He cannot say that, oh, Deepak said he did this new thing today. He should have already known it. So if he has to know everything at all times, that means the entire universe has to be predestined.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of intellectual gymnastics you'll have to play to figure all this out. To which Vedanta says, not necessary. If you will have to explain the existence of this world only if you accept there is a world. Vedanta says it's not what you think it is. It's like a dream state from which you wake up. So when the waker is supposed to be all knowledge about the dream, it doesn't mean he knows specific things about the dream, right? He knows that the dream is a dream. That's all you need to know. So the knowledge of God is entirely different from the knowledge we have. Right? So because you're not called upon to explain. It's the only way out of this intellectual gymnastics. Now it's too much. So the author says, go into silence, means go into quiet contemplation. And then it'll all start fitting together. How can all this work? His knowledge is different from our knowledge. When you say God is omniscient, it's not the way we understand knowledge. No part of his knowledge is like our knowledge. For example, the dreamer has knowledge about the dream world. No part of that knowledge is like the waker's knowledge that it is a dream. It's two different types of knowledge. That's what it's trying to say. So it takes a little contemplation to sort of figure it out. So silence is the understanding and silence is the result. You start getting it, that's the silence, and then the result, eventual result, realization, is also silence. Okay?
So in a sense, you said, the knowledge of God is different from the knowledge we can conceive. In fact, finally, there is no God per se.
There is no God in the sense we understand that.
As we understand, yeah.
Because no part of our knowledge is correct. So whatever we say about God has to be wrong. It's like the dreamer making statements about the waker. Can't work.
Yeah.
That brings us to another very important aspect of this conversation, which is the denial of God. which, as Deepak Sethi rightly pointed out, all this leads us to say that there is no God. So the atheists deny God. They say there's no such thing as God. So let us study why they say there's no such thing as God, and what is their logic on this. Atheists deny God. One of the main grounds, of course, there are many grounds, but you can't do all of them. So we're just taking one of the main ones. One of the main grounds, which most people, main, I'm saying not because they say the main, but because it seems like something we don't have an answer to. And even theists, those who believe in God, usually do not have an answer. So the atheists deny God. One of the main grounds of this denial is the so-called problem of evil. This particular argument is called the problem of evil. The argument states that if God is all-knowing and all good and all-powerful, why would evil exist? See, if he's all good, why would he want evil? If he's all-knowing, he would know the solution to evil. And if he's all-powerful, he can execute that solution. Right? So if there is this good God, if he's good, then maybe he's not all-knowing. He doesn't know everything. So therefore, he doesn't know a solution to the evil. He's good, but he doesn't have a solution. Or maybe he's good, he has a solution, but he's not powerful enough to execute that solution. Or he's not good. But all three cannot coexist. And if all three don't coexist, then what kind of God is he? Do you get the argument? Everyone's clear about the argument. I can't see also, I don't know. Yes, argument is clear to everybody. Clear argument,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you get either he is good, but he doesn't know how to handle it. Okay, there's evil therefore. Or he is good, he knows how to handle it, but he's not powerful enough to do it. Then also evil can exist. But it's impossible to have a all good, all knowing, all powerful God and evil as well. Because he may be, he may have the solution, he may be powerful, but he doesn't care about us, so he's not all good. So this is a sort of problem that theists have no answer to when atheists say, obviously that means there's no God. It seems reasonable, right? Sounds like a reasonable theory. So let's see if there is any answer to this. In the light of the Vedantic concept, this is not difficult to analyze. Oh my God, that's quite a statement, right? Because it sounds difficult enough. In the light of the Vedantic concept, this is not difficult to analyze. The problem is rooted in the understanding of the term all-knowing. All-knowing is usually understood as knowing all the information, all the thoughts. All-knowing, as discussed, means the absence of thoughts. So the question of knowing the happenings of this world does not arise in pure consciousness. And without that knowing, there is no doing. God is all-powerful, not in the sense that he does everything, but in the sense that he is the enabler, like the petrol in the car, like electricity in a bulb. He merely enables activity. He is all-knowing in the sense that every thought that ever was or will be is enlivened by pure consciousness. So wherever there has been a thought, consciousness has been, and hence is considered to know everything. The evil in the world is the result of not cognizing the pure consciousness, not because of it. Okay, so let's stop here for a second and understand this idea. What is knowledge? Knowledge is pure consciousness plus thought. You remember that? You all have studied it, right? Ambujam, are you new to the class? Ambujam? So, what is knowledge? Pure consciousness plus thought. So, wherever there has been any form of knowledge, there has always been pure consciousness. Because pure consciousness has always backed every thought by every being from the beginning of time to the end of time, whenever that is. It is said to know everything. God is omniscient, is all knowing because pure consciousness backs all thought. God is not all knowing in the sense that we understand that term knowing. Once we figure this out, then we understand the problem of evil. That because we don't understand what is pure consciousness, therefore there's evil. Because what happens when you don't know pure consciousness? You have vasanas. When you have vasanas, what happens? They manifest as desires. When you have desires, they manifest as action. Now, depending on what kind of vasanas, you will create evil. So simple, no? Not difficult to analyze at all. So it's that first frightening statement seems to be true, no? Not so tough after all. Since I can't see your faces, I don't know whether you're buying the theory or not. But okay, anyone has any questions with the problem of evil? Or shall we go to the next problem?
Evil, Janki ji once said. So evil is also backed by consciousness.
Yes.
Then my confusion is all about why the occurrence of evil, although vasana, you are saying vasana evil, but then where is the first occurrence of evil vasana? If
That's
consciousness was there always.
if you're asking how did the first occurrence of evil happen, it's like asking how did the first vasana happen? That you cannot answer.
Okay.
You can never answer the question, how did the first vasana come? You can only explain what happens after the first vasana. But how did it first come? You have to be a realized soul to answer that question. Because from a conditioned state, you cannot understand the unconditioned. It's not possible. So you cannot ask, how did the first vasana? You can say, then after the first vasana, then it's all logic. You can't ask. I mean, not just here, even in physics. You can't ask the question, how did, you know what physics says, right? They say that all the matter was in a small, tiny teaspoon and then a big bang and the universe came. You ask, how did that matter and that little bit of matter come? Nobody can answer that question. Correct, Deepraj. The dreamer can never know when the dream started. Correct. Good example. You cannot
But-
know. First thing you cannot know.
Okay. Thank you.
But Janki ji, how the self-realized people explain that?
They cannot
Oh.
explain it. I mean, whatever they say, we will not get. It's like explaining blue to a blind man. What's he going to get?
No, but what is the answer?
The answer you'll already know. It didn't come. Okay, suppose a person is sleeping and he has a problem that there's some terrible poverty and people are suffering and dying, and he says, how did this poverty come? It all came because there was an invasion, and then people became very lazy and they didn't work, and now reached all this poverty. And then so the question, so how did that invasion happen? Oh, it happened because X and Y and Z. How did that X, Y, Z happen? Because of ABC. But how did ABC happen? You can go back all you want. You still will never know what the waker knows, that none of this happened. You're finding an explanation to a phenomenon that did not take place. Now they tell you this. Now you'll say, what do you mean it didn't take place? Is the class going on? Yes, the class is going on. But you said it never took place. That means no class is going on. Yes, no class is going on. What are we making sense of this whole? What is their answer? It didn't happen.
It's a matter of level. Because at a certain level, it's not happening. At the lower level, it is happening. The class.
No. If you ask a self-realized master, nothing is happening. If you ask them
No, that's what I said. That's what I said. At level of the waker, it is happening. At another level, which is a self-realized level, the class is not happening because nothing is happening.
That is what you are saying as the waker. That is not what the self-realized person is saying. You are saying at one level it is happening. The self-realized person is not making this compromise. He's saying it's not happening. What waker? What are you talking about?
So at the level of self-realized, there are no other levels at all.
Yes, correct.
And the waker can think of the other levels, other relative higher or lower levels.
Yeah. There is a comparison the waker makes. It is just like when the waker talks about the dreamer and his dream world, does he admit that it exists? Suppose last night in your dream you met King Charles. Today, as the waker, and somebody asks you, have you ever met King Charles? Will you answer that by saying yes? No. You will say no. The waker will say it happened, but you will say it's not. It never happened. I would like it to happen, but it has.
So
Actually,
at any level, that only level exists.
Yeah. As long as you're in the level, then it exists. For the person who is there.
But at least a waker can understand that there are different levels.
There are different levels in the waking world.
In the waking world, right?
Yeah, he's not accepting that something has happened in the dream. Means he sees it as a dream. Suppose in the dream last night you got Nobel Prize. Will you come and tell us in the class I got the Nobel Peace Prize? Or if you tell it, you'll say, you know what a dream I got last night, because you know fully well that never happened. You are not accepting the reality of that.
Sorry.
But the understanding and the scope of doing anything is available only in the waking state.
Since you claim that there is a waking state.
Since we are discussing this in a waking state and we are claiming it.
Yeah, you're claiming it. It's the other way around. Since you're claiming it, you're discussing it. Okay. You're claiming there's a world, so you have now to answer the question, how did the world come? But the self-realized person, he doesn't ever answer that question. Just like a dreamer, a waker doesn't answer the question, how did Prince Charles get there? He didn't.
Right. Thank you.
Deepak Sethi?
Yeah. So, Janki, the concept of a self-realized person is a waker's construct. See, we are describing this. This is what the self-realized person will do, will not do. But actually, this is the Waker's construct. There is no self-realized person in absolute knowledge and reality.
Yes, that's why it's called.
It's not that we don't know what the self-realized will do or not do. There is no self-realized person in that pure knowledge and reality.
Yes, because there's no person.
Yeah, this is our construct.
This is our construct. Because there's nothing you can say over here which is correct. You're not capable of saying anything correctly.
Sorry, say the last thing again.
There's nothing we can say here which is correct. We don't have the capacity to do that. Just like the dreamer cannot make any correct statement about the waker. So whatever he said is his construct.
Yeah, so the statement is there's nothing that we can say which is correct in the construct of absolute reality. It is correct or wrong only with respect to our constructs. Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to problem number 2 in this whole thing. We claim that self-realization is thoughtlessness. That's the claim. But all of us are in any case experiencing thoughtlessness. Where do we experience thoughtlessness?
Deep sleep.
In deep sleep. So therefore, it may follow that the state of self-realization and the state of deep sleep is actually the same. That means all this hard work that we did was only to go into deep sleep. That doesn't make sense. Why would we do that? That doesn't sound like a great thing to have achieved.
So might as well go straight into deep sleep.
Yeah, I know. Give up the whole thing and just go into deep sleep.
Why study Vedanta?
Correct. So that is the next problem we come to. That, okay, if thoughtlessness is so great, then anyway, I have it because I get deep sleep. So that's our next problem. So that's why that's the last para. Thoughtlessness and deep sleep. If thoughtlessness is the state of reality, is deep sleep cognition of reality? Deep sleep is devoid of thoughts. Is it then the state to strive for? Clearly, deep sleep cannot be the ultimate knowledge experience. There is a world of difference between the state of thoughtlessness and deep sleep. While deep sleep is thoughtless, this is a counterfeit or mimicked thoughtlessness. In deep sleep, the individual possesses the thoughts, but the thoughts are unmanifest. In self-realization, there are no thoughts, manifest or unmanifest. That is to say that the individual has no vasanas. That is the root of thoughts or the germinator of thoughts. In deep sleep, the vasanas still exist. Hence, they will erupt as thoughts someday. In the case of self-realization, the vasanas have been eradicated and hence no thoughts can erupt. So is this clear? What is the difference between deep sleep and self-realization? In the state of deep sleep, a human being has vasanas, but they're not manifest. In the state of self-realization, there are no vasanas. No individuality, right? So what is the difference in result you can see? That when you go to deep sleep, you come back to your personality, whatever it is. When you go into self-realization, there's no coming back. Means the thoughts cannot erupt again. From deep sleep, the thoughts erupt again. But from self-realization, they cannot erupt. This is the difference between deep sleep and self-realization. Deep sleep is a mimicked thing. Mimicked in the sense It pretends to be thoughtless, but it is not really thoughtless. The thoughts are very much there. Only thing is, they're not manifest. Ambuja, some dreams become real in future. It's very rare, very, very rare, but yes, possibility exists. But it's irrelevant to our current discussion. When you say they become real, you mean that it's happening in the waking state. And only when it happens in the waking state will you think it is real. The dream you're never going to think is real. If it happened in the dream, suppose you got married in the dream, you're not going to come back and tell us, I got married. When you get married in the waking state, you will tell us that I got married. So the reality that you experience is of your waking state, never of your dream. That you say, that you admit never happened. So that's it for today. I hope you all know about the new book. And when we finish this one, eventually we'll start that one. It's called The Happiness Guarantee, and it's going to be launched next Saturday at Karjam Khana at 11 o'clock. So if you all are in Mumbai, do join us. Great. Finally, it's coming out.
Yeah, congratulations, Janki ji. Really beautiful.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
By the way, I hope we will do the epilogue also
Yeah,
as a part of the study.
the whole book, yes.
Yeah. Just because a new book is coming, you're not going to rush us into it. We'll complete this completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
After the book gets over, also we will not start immediately that. We'll get a few days rest. You will not have the class. You all can look at it. If you have any questions, take it up. There's no rush at all. Okay.
Thank you so much, Janki ji. Thank you. Hari Om.
Janki ji, Hari Om.
Hari Om, Janki ji.
Hari Om, Janki ji. Thank you.
Thanks for getting the book out.
Hari Om, Janki ji. Thank you.